I was just 18 when my boss shattered my femur during one of his attacks. Little did he know that brutal break would spark the start of my revenge. Hey there, folks, I'm Dorothy, but everyone just calls me Grandma Dot. I'm 71 now, born and raised in Cincinnati, Ohio, way back in 1953. Today, I'm sharing a story I've kept locked in my heart for over 5 decades, a tale I've never even told my own kids. Picture this. It's 1971, and I'm a wide-eyed 18-year-old, desperate to help my family stay afloat. My dad passed away the year before in a construction accident, leaving my mum to raise me and my 3 younger siblings on her own. Social security checks barely covered the rent for our cramped little house in Riverside. "Dorothy, you're the oldest," Mum would say, her eyes glistening. "We need you to step up." I got it. At 18, I already knew life wasn't handing out favours to folks like us. I pounded the pavement, knocking on every door in Cincinnati. Downtown shops wanted experience I didn't have. Suburban families wanted someone older, more reliable. I was ready to give up when a neighbour tipped me off about Johnson Textiles. "They hire young girls," she said. "It's tough work, but the pay's steady." The factory was a hulking grey beast in the industrial district, churning out fabrics for half the Midwest. The air around it reeked of dye and glue, a smell that clung to your clothes like a bad memory. I showed up on a chilly Monday morning in March 1971, wearing my best navy dress, stitched by Mom with love and a second-hand singer. My nerves were buzzing. At the front desk, a grumpy guy told me to wait. An hour later, he grunted, "Mr. Johnson will see you now." Mr. Robert Johnson owned the place. He was about 45, tall, with slicked-back black hair that screamed, "I'm in charge." Even in the spring heat he wore a suit, and his voice had this condescending edge, like he was doing the world a favour by breathing. "So, you want a job here, huh?" he asked, eyeing me up and down in a way that made my skin crawl. "Yes, sir, I need this job bad." "No experience, I'm guessing?" He grabbed my hands, pretending to check them, but held on way too long. Soft hands like these haven't seen hard work. I swallowed, the chill creeping up my spine. "I learn fast, Mr. Johnson. I'll work hard." He smirked weirdly. "I'm sure you will. I'll give you a shot. Packaging section, half minimum wage, 6 days a week, 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. It wasn't much, but it was something. I nodded quick. "One thing," he added, stepping closer. "I like employees who show gratitude for a kind boss. You seem like a smart girl." I didn't catch his full meaning, but I agreed. I needed that job. Day one was a blur. Johnson Textiles had about 200 workers, mostly young women like me, slaving away in sweaty warehouses filled with clattering machines. My job? Folding fabrics fresh off the line and boxing them up. The other girls were sweet, showing me the ropes, where to eat lunch, where the bathrooms were. "You seem nice," said Connie, a 20-year-old who worked the machine next to mine. "But watch out for Mr. Johnson." "Watch out how?" I asked. She glanced around, lowering her voice. "He's got habits with new girls, especially the pretty ones like you." "What kind of habits?" Her face fell. "You'll see. Just don't go to his office alone, especially after hours." I brushed it off. Mr. Johnson had been polite, gave me a job when no one else would. Maybe she was exaggerating. That first week went smooth. I clocked in at 7, worked like a mule, left at 6. Exhausting, but I was proud to bring home a paycheck. "How's the job, honey?" Mum asked nightly. "It's good, Mum. The boss seems all right." If only I'd known what was coming. Week 2, Mr. Johnson started hovering around my station more. He'd check quality, but his eyes lingered on me longer than my work. "You're settling in nice, Dorothy," he'd say, his hand resting on my shoulder, a beat too long. Sometimes he'd stand so close I could feel his breath on my neck. "Mr. Johnson's got his eye on you," Connie warned over lunch. "I've seen this before." "He hasn't done anything wrong," I said, mostly to convince myself. "Not yet," she sighed. "If he calls you to his office, take someone with you, always." By week 3, things got real, Mr. Johnson summoned me to his office to discuss performance. I dragged Connie along, pretending she was helping me with a task. He wasn't pleased. "You don't need a chaperone," he snapped. "It's just about your work." "Sorry, sir. Connie's showing me something." His eyes narrowed. "Next time, come alone." It wasn't a suggestion. Then came that Friday, late in the day. I was packing the last shipment when he appeared. "Dorothy, my office, now." My stomach dropped. Connie was gone, the warehouse nearly empty. "Can it wait till tomorrow?" I tried. "It's about your pay," he said, voice hard. "You don't want to talk about your pay?" A raise could change everything at home. I went. Biggest mistake of my life. His office was upstairs, far from the factory's hum. A big room with a wooden desk, bookshelves, and a ratty old sofa in the corner. "Sit," he said, pointing to a chair. He didn't sit. He paced, staring at me like I was prey. "You're a smart girl, Dorothy. Hard-working. I like that." "Thank you, sir." "I'm thinking of a raise, maybe even making you a supervisor." My heart leapt. Supervisors made real money. "But," he said, stepping behind my chair, "nothing's free. I need to know you're loyal." His hands landed on my shoulders, heavy and hot. "I'm dedicated, sir. I work hard." "Not just work," he murmured, his hands sliding down my arms. "Loyalty, gratitude." That's when Connie's warning hit me like a freight train. "Mr. Johnson, I should go." "You're not going anywhere." His voice turned cold, menacing. "You know how many girls want your job?" He blocked my path. "You want this job or not?" What happened next? I can't spell it out, not because I've forgotten. Every second is seared into my brain. But because some pain is too raw for words. He hurt me, humiliated me, made me feel like I wasn't a person, just a thing he owned. When it was over, he straightened his suit. "Tell anyone, and you're done. I'll make sure everyone in Cincinnati knows what kind of girl you are. Good luck finding work then." I stumbled out, grabbed my purse, and walked home like a ghost. I threw up 3 times on the way. At home, I locked myself in the bathroom, scrubbing my skin raw under the shower. "You okay, honey?" Mum asked at dinner. "Just tired," I lied. How could I tell her the job keeping us fed came at this cost? Saturday, I stayed in bed, faking a fever. Sunday, I watched Mum count our last few coins. I had no choice. Monday, I dragged myself back to the factory. Mr. Johnson greeted me like nothing happened, all smiles in front of others. But his eyes, they gleamed with a sick kind of power. "Good morning, Dorothy. Hope you rested well." Later he added, "We need to discuss that matter from Friday." Like it was just business. Connie saw right through me at lunch. "What did he do?" she asked, her voice soft. "Nothing," I lied, staring at my sandwich. "Just work stuff." She grabbed my hand. "Dorothy, I know that look. I've seen it on other girls." I broke down, sobbing in the middle of the noisy factory cafeteria. "He said if I tell anyone I'm fired," I whispered. "And you believe him. I can't lose this job, Connie. My family needs it." She sighed, her eyes full of a sadness I'd soon understand too well. Connie's words hit me like a punch. "That's how he gets away with it, Dorothy. He preys on girls like us, girls with no options. You're not the first. Every pretty face he hires goes through it. Some stick it out, others quit fast, but he's always got a fresh batch waiting." It was like a veil lifted. This wasn't just about me. It was a twisted system. Mr. Johnson fed off the desperation of girls like us, using our need to survive to fuel his sick games. I was just another name on his list. The weeks after that were pure hell, a nightmare on repeat. Every couple of days, Mr. Johnson would stroll by my station, all casual, and say, "Dorothy, my office at 6:30. Got to talk about your productivity." Productivity? What a joke. It was never about work. I tried dodging him, making excuses, but he'd just lean in and whisper, "You want to keep this job, don't you?" That was all it took to drag me back to that office. My life became a silent scream. At the factory, I'd chat with the girls, eat lunch, fold fabrics like nothing was wrong. But inside, I was crumbling piece by piece. Mum started noticing. "You're wasting away, honey," she said one night, sliding a plate of meatloaf my way. "Those dark circles, what's going on?" "Just work, Mum. It's tough." How could I tell her the money keeping us afloat came at a cost no daughter should pay? Connie did what she could. She'd fake emergencies to pull me away from his office or hover nearby when he got too close, but she couldn't always be there. "You got to report him," she urged one day. "This can't go on." "Report him to who, Connie? He owns this place. He's got the whole city in his pocket." "The cops, Dorothy." I laughed bitterly. "You think the police in 1971 Cincinnati are going to believe a poor girl like me over a big-shot businessman? It's my word against his." Back then, women like us didn't have a voice, especially not poor ones with no fancy education or connected families. Things got uglier. Mr. Johnson grew bolder, crueler, like he thrived on knowing he could get away with it. In May, he put a new lock on his office door. "For privacy during our talks," he said with that slimy grin. Privacy. The word made my stomach churn. Around then, the nightmares started. I'd wake up drenched in sweat, heart pounding, convinced he was lurking in my room. I stopped eating, dropped weight, lost the spark that made me me. "Dorothy, you look like a ghost," Mum said one June morning. "I'm booking you a doctor." "I'm fine, Mum, just tired." How do you explain a sickness no pill can fix? A poison that doesn't show up on x-rays? I started watching the other girls, looking for signs. I wasn't alone. There was Marlene, 19, who started a couple months after me. She had the same haunted look in her eyes, and little Rosie, barely 17, always left his office with red-rimmed eyes. I thought maybe we could band together, report him as a group. But when I tried talking to them, they clammed up. Fear trumped everything. We all had families to feed, no other options. Mr. Johnson knew it and played us like pawns. "You know what happens to girls who stir up trouble?" he'd sneer during one of his sessions. "They get labelled. No man wants a girl with a reputation. No boss hires a troublemaker." Labelled, talked about. Words that could ruin a girl in the 70s. "You're smart, Dorothy. Don't throw your life away over nothing." Nothing. That's what he called it. By July, it got worse. He started summoning me during lunch breaks, saying we needed to move our talks forward. 50 minutes I should have spent eating were spent in that office, leaving me hungry, aching, and wishing I could disappear. The other girls noticed. You can't hide wrinkled clothes, messy hair, or eyes swollen from crying. "You can't keep doing this," Connie said one day. "You're going to break." Maybe I already had. I started hearing his voice when he wasn't there, seeing his shadow in empty corners. Fear was eating me alive. Then, in August, he took it to a new level. He started sending me to his house with urgent deliveries, just envelopes of papers, he'd say. His place was a fancy white mansion in Hyde Park with a perfect lawn that screamed money. The first time, I clung to the hope it was just work. Stupid me. At his house, with no one around, he didn't have to worry about interruptions. It was worse than the factory. "No one to bother us here," he'd say, locking the door. "More time for our talks." More time meant more pain, more shame, moments I prayed to vanish. I started missing work, faking fevers or fainting spells, anything to escape. He'd punish me by docking my pay. "Can't pay full wages to girls who don't show up," he'd say, smirking. "Hope you understand." Oh, I understood. It was just another leash to keep me trapped. By September, Mum noticed the short paychecks. "Dorothy, why's your pay light this month?" "I missed some days, Mum. Wasn't feeling good." Her worried frown gutted me. "We need that money, honey." Knowing my family depended on that tainted cash broke me even more. I started dreaming of running away, leaving Cincinnati, starting fresh somewhere, anywhere. But how? No savings, no connections, no place to go. Mr. Johnson sensed my desperation and fed off it like a vulture. "Thinking of running?" he taunted one October afternoon. "Forget it. You're mine now. Try to leave and I'll find you. I've got friends everywhere. No job, no city, if I say so." His threats weren't empty. Men like him could ruin you with a single call. By November 1971, almost a year into that hellhole, I was a shell. I'd dropped 15 pounds, had an ulcer from the stress, and dark thoughts crept in, thoughts of ending it all. Then he made the mistake that changed everything. On a Friday in late November, he called me to his office, but something was off. He was jittery, reeking of whiskey. "Today you're going to learn a lesson," he growled, shoving me harder than ever. What happened next was worse than anything before, violence that felt unhinged, like he'd lost all control. Then I heard it, a sickening crack like a stick snapping. Pain exploded through my right leg, so intense I screamed louder than I ever had. My femur was broken, split clean in half. Mr. Johnson froze, his face pale as a sheet. "Shut up!" he hissed, trying to stifle my cries. But I couldn't stop. The pain was a wildfire, burning through every inch of me. I thought I'd pass out, or die, right there on his office floor. "Oh my God, what have I done?" Mr. Johnson muttered, staring at my leg, twisted at a sickening angle. For the first time in nearly a year, I saw fear in his eyes, not the smug, controlling glare I'd come to dread, but raw panic. The man who'd held all the power was just a scared bully who'd gone too far. Even through the blinding pain, I knew this broken leg was my way out. It was proof he couldn't bury, a crack in his armour that could bring him down. The pain was unreal, like my leg was screaming louder than I was. Every twitch sent a jolt so fierce my vision blurred. Mr. Johnson paced his office like a trapped animal, hands shaking. "Stop screaming, Dorothy, for God's sake," he barked. "Someone's going to hear you." But I couldn't stop. All the agony, physical, emotional, everything from the past year poured out in those cries, a tidal wave I couldn't hold back. "You gotta be quiet," he said, trying to clamp his hand over my mouth. "Listen, it was an accident. You slipped. You fell. That's the story." Even half conscious with pain, I saw what he was doing, spinning a lie to save himself. "No one's going to believe you if you say otherwise," he hissed, sweat beading on his forehead. "You fell. End of story." But this wasn't like before. A broken femur isn't something you can sweep under the rug. Doctors would ask questions. There'd be records. His panic told me he knew it too. "I'm taking you to the hospital," he said, trying to hoist me up. "We'll say you fell down the factory stairs, hit your leg on the steps. Work accident, nothing more." When he moved me, the pain was so intense I blacked out for a second. Next thing I knew, I was in his black Ford, every bump in the Cincinnati streets making my leg feel like it was shattering all over again. He kept drilling the story into me. "You slipped on the iron stairs. That's what happened. Got it?" I could barely nod, but my mind was racing, plotting. We pulled into Cincinnati General Hospital around 7 p.m. Mr. Johnson carried me in, yelling for help. "My employee fell at the factory. Her leg's broken." Nurses rushed me to the ER, where Dr. Wilson, a kind-eyed man in his 50s, started examining me. "How'd this happen?" he asked, prodding gently. I glanced at Mr. Johnson, looming in the doorway, his eyes boring into me. This was my shot. I could spill everything right then, but his threats, his power, still had me in a chokehold. "I fell down the factory stairs," I mumbled, tears streaming. "Slipped and hit my leg." Dr. Wilson's brow furrowed. "What kind of stairs?" "Iron ones." Mr. Johnson jumped in, too quick. "Hard steps. That's why it's so bad." The doctor kept poking at my leg, his face sceptical, like he wasn't buying it. "We'll need surgery," he said finally. "It's a complex fracture. Gonna take time to heal." Surgery meant weeks in the hospital, away from Mr. Johnson, away from that factory. For the first time in months, I felt a flicker of relief. "How long's she in for?" Mr. Johnson asked, faking concern. "At least 2 weeks for surgery and initial recovery," Dr. Wilson replied, "then months of physical therapy." I saw Mr. Johnson's face go ashen, months out of his grip, months where I'd be talking to doctors, nurses, people he couldn't control. "I'll call your family," he said, playing the worried boss. "They need to know about the accident." When he stepped out, Dr. Wilson leaned in. "Dorothy, can I ask you something personal?" My heart pounded. "Sure." "This fracture, it's odd for a fall, looks more like someone applied serious force." He knew. Somehow he saw through the story. Did something else happen? This was it, my chance to tell an educated man who might actually listen, but fear still had its claws in me. "No, doctor, it was like I said." He studied me, then sighed. "All right, let's fix that leg first." Surgery happened the next morning. When I woke up, groggy from anaesthesia, Mum was there sobbing. "My baby, how'd this happen?" "I fell at work, Mum. Mr. Johnson's covering the bills." "What a kind boss," she said. Kind, if only she knew. But those hospital days started to shift something in me. Away from the factory, from his constant threats, my mind cleared. The nurses were gentle, chatting with me like I was a person, not a thing. Other patients shared their stories, treated me with warmth I'd forgotten existed. Mr. Johnson visited daily, always with flowers or fruit, playing the doting boss for the staff. But when we were alone, his mask slipped. "Don't get any ideas about talking," he'd whisper. "Your family still needs my money." His threats felt weaker, though. He was jittery, his eyes darting like he knew he was losing control. On day 5, everything changed. Dr. Wilson came back, this time with a woman in her 40s, all calm and professional. "Dorothy, this is Dr. Sarah, our psychologist," he said. "She'd like to chat." My pulse spiked. "A psychologist?" "It's standard," Dr. Sarah explained, pulling up a chair. "We talk to trauma patients to help with recovery." Alone with her, she leaned in close. "How are you feeling, Dorothy? Not your leg, you, as a person." No one had asked me that in forever. "I don't know. Fine, I guess." She tilted her head. "Dr. Wilson mentioned your fracture's unusual, not typical for a fall. He's seen a lot of work injuries and this doesn't add up." My blood ran cold. "It was the stairs," I insisted. "Dorothy, you can tell me the truth. Nothing leaves this room unless you say so." For a second I wanted to spill it all, but fear choked me again. "It was an accident," I said. She sighed, handing me her card. "If you change your mind, call me." That night I couldn't sleep. Dr. Sarah's words, Dr. Wilson's suspicions, Mr. Johnson's nervous glances, they swirled in my head. A tiny spark of hope flickered. Maybe I wasn't as trapped as I thought. Maybe there were people who'd listen. On day 7, Connie showed up, clutching flowers, her face etched with worry. "Dorothy, how you holding up? The factory's buzzing about your accident." "I'm better," I said. "I'll be back soon." She leaned in, voice low. "Was it really an accident?" My throat tightened. "Why'd you ask?" "Because I know you, Dorothy. You're careful. You don't just trip on stairs." She was handing me a lifeline, someone who already suspected the truth. "Connie, he did this," I whispered, tears spilling. "He said if I talk, he'll fire me, ruin me. My family needs that job." She grabbed my hand. "Look at you, Dorothy. You're in a hospital bed. You could have died. How much worse does it have to get?" She was right. I'd hit the bottom of the barrel. "What can I do? Who'll believe me?" "I'll help you," she said fiercely. "You're not alone." That conversation flipped a switch. I was done being his victim, done letting fear call the shots. When Connie left, I buzzed the nurse. "I need Dr. Sarah. It's urgent." Half an hour later, Dr. Sarah was back. Same calm face, same chair. "Changed your mind?" she asked. I nodded, and the dam broke. I told her everything, every assault, every threat, every moment of shame. I told her about the other girls, how he used our desperation to trap us. She listened, jotting notes, asking careful questions, her face steady but kind. For the first time, I felt like someone heard me. When I finished spilling my story to Dr. Sarah, I was drained but lighter, like I'd finally set down a boulder I'd been carrying for a year. For the first time, I'd told someone the ugly truth. "Dorothy, that took real courage," she said softly. "Now, what do you want to do next?" "What can I do?" "You can report him. We've got medical evidence of violence, your testimony. I can connect you with lawyers who handle cases like this." "What if no one believes me?" "Some won't," she admitted, "but others will. And this could stop him from hurting more girls." I thought of Marlene, Rosie, and all the others who'd come after me at Johnson Textiles. How many lives would that monster ruin if no one stood up? "I want to report him," I said, my voice steady for the first time in months. "I want him to pay." Dr. Sarah's face broke into a small, proud smile. "Then let's get to work." Still in the hospital, we started building the case. Dr. Sarah linked me with Mr. Thompson, a young lawyer who fought for workers' rights. After hearing my story, he leaned back in his chair. "Your case is strong, Dorothy. We've got medical records, witnesses, a clear pattern of behaviour. We can sue for assault, sexual harassment, the works. He's got money and pull, but we've got the truth. Sometimes that's enough." Mr. Johnson kept showing up at the hospital, his fake concern slipping as he got more jittery. "You're different," he said during one visit, eyes narrowing. "I hope you're not doing something stupid." I met his gaze, unflinching. "I'm not doing anything stupid, Mr. Johnson. I'm doing justice." His face went pale, then red with fury. "You don't know who you're messing with," he hissed. "I'll ruin you and your family." "You already tried to ruin me," I shot back. "Didn't work." For the first time, I saw him falter. That feeling, standing up to him without fear, was like a drug. 3 days later I was discharged, hobbling out on crutches with my leg in a cast. The pain was still there, but my heart felt lighter. I wasn't just free from the hospital, I was free from him. I had courage, allies, a plan. The war was on, and I wasn't backing down. When I left Cincinnati General that December day in 1971, I felt something I hadn't in ages: hope. Mr. Thompson laid it all out for me. We were suing Mr. Johnson for assault, harassment, everything we could pin on him. It could set a precedent to protect other women, but he didn't sugarcoat it. "This won't be easy, Dorothy. He'll try to tear you down, hire fancy lawyers, maybe bribe witnesses. It's going to be a fight." Fight. The word scared me, but it also lit a fire. After a year as his victim, I was ready to swing back. Step 1, gather evidence. We needed more witnesses, documents, anything to prove his pattern of abuse. Mr. Thompson urged me to find other girls who'd suffered at his hands. But first I had to face my family. That December afternoon, back in our little riverside house, Mum greeted me with a hug and worry in her eyes. "Thank God you're home, honey. Mr. Johnson stopped by, said you can take all the time you need. What a good man, right?" Good man. My stomach twisted. "Mum, we need to talk," I said, sitting at our worn kitchen table. She poured coffee, her face soft but curious. "What's wrong, Dorothy? You've been off since the hospital." I took a deep breath. Telling Dr. Sarah was hard, but telling Mum, the woman who'd raised me, who counted on my paycheck, felt like breaking her heart. "What happened at the factory wasn't an accident. Mr. Johnson hurt me, on purpose, during things he was doing to me." Her eyes widened, confusion turning to horror as I poured out the truth. Every word stabbed me, knowing how much it hurt her. When I finished, she whispered, "My baby," tears streaming down her face. "Why didn't you tell me?" I was scared, Mum, scared of losing the job, of him making good on his threats. She pulled me into a hug so tight I could barely breathe, her tears soaking my hair. "I'm so sorry, honey. I should have seen it. I failed you." "It's not your fault," I said. "It's his." In that moment, I gained another ally. Mum was a fighter, and now she was in my corner. Next, I tracked down Connie. She came over that Saturday, nervous but resolute. "I'm done staying quiet, Dorothy. I'm helping you take him down." "You sure? It's risky." "I'm sure, and it's not just me. Marlene and Rosie want to talk too." My heart leapt. More victims stepping up. "There's more," Connie said. "Janet, who quit last year, is in, and her story's going to blow you away." Janet had left Johnson Textiles out of the blue in '71, even though she needed the job. We met at Connie's the next Sunday. I limped in on crutches and found 4 women around her kitchen table: Marlene, Rosie, Janet and Connie, all wearing the same mix of fear and fire. "Thanks for coming," I said, easing into a chair. "I know this ain't easy." Marlene spoke first, her voice shaky but sure. "It started 2 months after I got hired. Flirting at first, then touching, then—" She trailed off. We all knew. Rosie, barely 17, sobbed as she confirmed the same story. Janet dropped the bombshell. "You'll think it's just us. He's been at this since the factory opened in '65. I talked to Susan, who left in '69. She went through it. Regina in '68 too. And there are others. How many were there? How many lives had he crushed?" "Why didn't you report him, Janet?" I asked. "Same as you. Fear, shame, needing the job. But when I heard about you, Dorothy, I was done hiding." We left that meeting with a plan. Unite, testify, bring him down. Mr. Thompson was thrilled. 5 witnesses? That's not one girl against the boss anymore. It's a pattern of abuse. We've got a real case. But Mr. Johnson wasn't sitting idle. When I didn't return to work after medical leave, he started playing dirty. One January night in 1972, he showed up at our house banging on the door. "Dorothy, we need to talk." Mum blocked him at the door. "She doesn't want to see you." "It's about her job, her family's future," he insisted. I hobbled out, facing him outside his factory for the first time. "What do you want?" "Come back to work. Forget this nonsense and I'll double your pay." Double the salary was life-changing money for us. "And if I don't?" His eyes darkened. "Things'll get ugly for you and your family." I stood taller, crutches be damned. "I'm not taking your deal, and if you come near my family again, I'm calling the cops." His face twisted with rage, but he couldn't do anything. Not there, with Mom and neighbours watching. "You'll regret this," he spat before storming off. The retaliation hit fast. Rumours spread through Riverside. I was a liar, a troublemaker trying to scam an honest man. Neighbours who'd known me since I was a kid started whispering when I passed. It stung. Then came the financial squeeze. Mr. Johnson leaned on local businesses, and suddenly Mrs. Mary at the corner store wouldn't sell to us on credit. "I'm sorry, but I can't anymore," she told Mom. "Orders from above." He was trying to choke us out, but Mr. Thompson had warned me. "It's classic," he said. "He's scared and he's lashing out." When powerful men feel cornered, they swing hard. In February 1972, we filed the lawsuit. Mr. Thompson had built an airtight case: victim testimonies, medical reports, proof of Mr. Johnson's pattern of abuse. Cincinnati had never seen anything like it. A factory girl taking on her boss for sexual harassment. The papers ate it up, treading carefully with headlines like "Employee accuses businessman of assault in the Cincinnati Enquirer." The city split down the middle. Some backed Mr. Johnson, the upstanding businessman who created jobs and sat in the front pew at church. "That girl's just after money," I overheard a woman scoff at the drugstore, but others started whispering support, women who saw themselves in our fight, even if they stayed quiet. Mr. Johnson hired the slickest law firm in town, led by Charles Mason, a lawyer known for shielding businessmen in labour disputes. His plan? Tear us down. "My client's a family man, a pillar of this community," Mason told the press. "He's being targeted by bitter employees looking for a payout." The first hearing was set for March 1972, Mr. Thompson prepped me for the onslaught. They'll attack your character, Dorothy, question your morals, your past, try to paint you as a liar. You ready? I thought of Marlene, Rosie, and the girls still at the factory. How many more would suffer if he walked free? I'm ready. On hearing day, I hobbled into the courthouse on crutches, my leg still in a cast. Mr. Thompson said it was a grim advantage, proof of the violence right there for the judge to see. The place was a circus. Reporters, gawkers, supporters and detractors packed the halls. When Mr. Johnson walked in, flanked by his high-priced lawyers, our eyes locked. For the first time, I didn't flinch. I felt fire. Mason came out swinging. Your Honour, this is a blatant extortion attempt. Disgruntled workers exploiting a workplace accident for profit. Mr. Thompson didn't blink. Your Honour, we have 5 women, across years, describing the same pattern of abuse. This isn't chance, it's a system. When my turn came to testify, my heart pounded like a drum. A 19-year-old nobody facing down one of Cincinnati's big shots. You may begin, miss, said Judge Robert Hayes. I laid it all bare, every assault, threat, humiliation. Tears fell, but my voice held steady. This was my shot to be heard, and I wasn't wasting it. Mason tried to trip me up on cross-examination. Why wait until now to report? Convenient timing after your accident, he sneered. I was scared, I said, and I only found people to help me now. Are you after money? If I wanted money, I'd have taken his offer to double my pay. The courtroom buzzed. Mr. Thompson had coached me well. The other girls testified that week, each story echoing mine. Janet's testimony hit hardest. Your Honour, I've spoken to at least 8 women who suffered the same at that factory. Some fled Cincinnati out of shame. 8. More than we'd guessed. Mr. Johnson denied it all, claiming we were liars out to ruin him. But how do you explain 5 women, strangers to each other, telling the same story? How do you dodge a pattern that clear? The trial dragged on for 3 months, a grueling mix of tension, veiled threats, and emotional exhaustion. But with every day I felt stronger, tapping into a grit I didn't know I had. In June 1972, Judge Hayes delivered the verdict. This court finds the victim's accounts credible. The pattern of abuse is clear and unacceptable. Mr. Johnson got 2 years in prison, ordered to pay compensation to us all, and the factory was shut down temporarily. I sobbed, not from pain, but from relief. We'd won. In September 1972, I watched them lead him away in handcuffs, the man who'd haunted me for so long finally powerless. It was freedom in a way I'd never known, but victory wasn't cheap. We lost friends, faced ugly rumours, scraped by financially. Still, it was worth it. We'd shown poor girls could take on giants and win. Justice wasn't just for the rich, and we'd saved countless others from his claws. The factory reopened later with new management and strict rules to protect workers. Our fight rippled outward. Other women came forward, more lawsuits followed. We'd sparked a change that would grow for decades. I thought after Mr. Johnson's conviction in September 1972, life would settle. How wrong I was. Winning in court was just the start of a tougher road, rebuilding at 19, with a leg that'd never be the same and a reputation dragged through the mud. The compensation, $15,000, about 2 years' wages, was a lifeline. But every dollar felt like a reminder of the horrors I'd endured. You can rest now, honey, Mum said when the money came. Get proper treatment, take care of yourself. Rest? I couldn't. The trial had unlocked something in me, a fire, an ambition I didn't know I had. The problem was, what could a girl like me do? My leg, scarred from the fracture, ached if I stood too long. Physical jobs were out. And my name? Half of Cincinnati saw me as a hero, the other half a troublemaker who'd smeared a good man. You could try office work, Connie suggested one day. You're sharp, Dorothy, perfect for admin stuff. I applied at offices around town, but my name was poison. We value discretion, one manager said, barely hiding his unease. can't take risks. Risks, as if fighting for my dignity was a flaw. Then, out of the blue, Mr. Thompson dropped a bombshell that changed everything. "Dorothy, you've got a knack for organisation and connecting with people," he said. "I saw it during the case. How about working for me?" "Doing what?" "As a legal assistant, I'll teach you the ropes, paperwork, client support, but there's something you do better than any lawyer I know." "What's that?" "You get victims. When a woman walks in here broken by abuse or harassment, she needs someone who's been there. That's you." His offer shook me. Law felt like a world for people with degrees, not girls like me. But this wasn't just a job. It was a chance to turn my pain into purpose. Mr. Thompson wasn't just offering me a job. He was handing me a purpose. "But I barely finished middle school," I protested. "Education we can fix," he said. "What you've got is rarer, life experience and the guts to use it to help others." In October 1972, I took the leap. My first day at his law office was terrifying. A 19-year-old surrounded by towering law books and legal jargon I didn't understand. But Mr. Thompson was patient, teaching me to file documents, draft petitions and greet clients. I found I had a knack for it. Best of all, when women came in, broken by violence or abuse, I could connect with them in a way no suit-and-tie lawyer could. "She gets us," one client whispered to another. "It's not just her job, it's personal." In January 1973, Mr. Thompson dropped another bombshell. "Dorothy, how about getting your GED? Finish high school at 20. Who cares? It's never too late." Law school followed, he suggested, planting a seed that seemed impossible. Me, a poor girl from Riverside, daughter of a construction worker, a survivor of abuse in law school. Crazy. But I couldn't shake the idea. I started GED classes in March 1973, juggling work from 8 to 5 and school from 7 to 10 at night. My leg ached after long days, but my mind was on fire. I loved learning, soaking up knowledge like a sponge. "You're different," Mum said months later, "driven." That was it. For the first time I had goals. Graduate, master the law, help women like me. In 1974, a client named Sandra walked into the office, and her story hit me like a mirror to my past. At 18, she was being abused by her boss at a downtown shop. "He says if I talk, he'll call me a tramp," she sobbed. "My family needs my paycheck." It was my story all over again, the same manipulation, fear, entrapment. I grabbed her hand. "Sandra, I've been where you are. It feels impossible, but you can get out." I shared my story, watching hope spark in her eyes. "You think I can win? I know you can, and I'll help." Sandra's case was my first as lead assistant. Mr. Thompson let me run with it, digging up evidence, gathering testimonies, building a strategy. We found her boss had a pattern, just like Mr. Johnson, but other victims were too scared to speak. I used the playbook from my own case: unite the women, show them they're not alone, build a case on their shared stories. 6 months later, we got a conviction and a settlement that let Sandra start fresh in a new city. "You saved me," she said, tears in her eyes. That moment crystallized my purpose. This wasn't just about surviving my pain. It was about turning it into a lifeline for others. I earned my GED in December 1974, acing it. Mr. Thompson threw a little office party to celebrate. "Now the real work starts," he grinned. "Law school entrance exam." The 1975 exam was brutal. At 22, I was up against kids with private tutors and fancy schools. I studied like my life depended on it: 5 a.m. wake-ups, lunch breaks with books instead of food, midnight cramming. "You're going to burn out," Mum worried. "This is my shot, Mum," I said. "If I don't make it now, I might never try again." The exam day in December 1975 was a blur of nerves and sweaty palms. The essay, though, on social justice and women's rights, felt like it was written for me. I poured my heart into it, not just theory, but lived truth. When the results dropped in February 1976, I saw my name on the accepted list for one of Ohio's top law schools. I cried right there outside the university, a limping 22-year-old who'd beaten the odds. My first day at law school in March 1976 was intimidating. The room buzzed with confident, well-dressed kids from suburbs I'd never set foot in. "You're studying law?" One smirked, eyeing my simple dress. "Thought you were the janitor." It stung, but it fueled me. I'd prove I belonged. College was a grind. Some professors dismissed older students, especially women, and classmates saw me as a curiosity. But I had an edge. Real-world experience. In criminal law, I knew how courts worked. In labour law, I'd lived the abuse. "Your insights are unique," my civil law professor said. "You bring a perspective we don't get from books." For 5 years, I juggled morning classes, afternoon work with Mr. Thompson, and late-night studying. In 1978, a women's law professor pulled me aside. "Dorothy, your story's powerful. Ever thought about specialising in women's rights?" That idea took root. I dove into women's rights, labour laws, and cases on discrimination and violence. My 1979 thesis on workplace sexual harassment, built around my own case, was called Pioneering by my advisor. "This could be a book," he said. I graduated in December 1980 at 27, walking across the stage to get my diploma, as Mom sobbed with pride in the crowd. The scared 18-year-old from Johnson Textiles was now Dr. Dorothy Santos, a lawyer specialising in women's rights. "What's next?" Mr. Thompson asked at the ceremony. "I'm opening my own office," I said, "for cases no one else takes. Poor women, victims of violence, exploited workers." He raised an eyebrow. "Hard to make money that way." "It's not about money, it's about justice." In January 1981, I rented a tiny office in downtown Cincinnati and hung a sign, "Dr. Dorothy Santos, People's Law." I meant it, law for the voiceless, the forgotten. At first, clients were scarce. A young female lawyer with my past. People hesitated, but Mr. Thompson sent women my way, and word spread. Soon, my office was packed with cases: harassment, domestic violence, workplace discrimination. Each win felt like a small revolution. "You're changing Cincinnati," Connie, now my secretary, said in 1983. "Women aren't scared to speak up anymore." Maybe I was planting seeds of change. That year, Ohio invited me to consult on the state's first women's police station. For 6 months I travelled, training officers and crafting protocols to ensure victims were treated with dignity. Seeing my fight-shaped public policy was humbling, but the biggest step came in 1984 when I decided to write a book. "Why now?" Mum asked. "Because girls need to know pain can become purpose, trauma can become strength." From Trauma to Transformation, a journey of survival and victory, hit shelves in 1986 and made waves. "Your story inspires," a Time magazine reporter said. "It proves you can overcome anything." More than overcoming, I wanted to transform pain into change. The book brought national attention, lectures, TV appearances, calls from journalists. But the real impact was the women who reached out. Letters, calls, visits from across America. "Your story gave me courage," they'd say. "If you did it, I can too." And they did, turning from victims to victors one by one. By 1987, at 34, I looked back on my journey. From a broken 18-year-old to a lawyer changing lives, from trauma to triumph. My legs still ached on cold days, a reminder of where I started. But that pain wasn't defeat anymore. It was proof of my victory, my transformation. My greatest win wasn't surviving Mr. Johnson. It was turning that survival into a beacon for others. Folks, if you've stuck with me through this story, thank you from the bottom of my heart. It wasn't easy to share, but I hope it lights a spark for anyone facing their own storms. Please subscribe to Grandparents' Tales and give this a thumbs up. It helps me keep sharing these stories. Drop a comment and let me know where you're watching from. I love hearing from you all across America and beyond. A big hug to each of you. And remember, no matter how dark the night, there's